up, guys? Tonight is the night of awesomeness. We have the one and only Steve Honeycut with us. We are getting into theme park world and everything else. You guys know in the chat, feel free to ask your questions. This is the Two Real Geeks. You know where this goes. So the one and only Steve. What's up, Steve?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Not much. I'm awesome. How are you?
I'm great. I'm ready to get into some theme parks with you again. This time on the other
Again,
side of the mic.
I do
Yeah.
have to say that podcast was amazing.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, you did a great job, and it came out great.
Appreciate it. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
no
You did
problem.
a good job on it yourself, man, like you always do.
Thanks.
So, theme parks, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. How about
I
them?
mean, you run that theme park legend. So I mean,
Hmm.
technically, you're considered the theme park legend yourself right now. So
According to you, and
no, no,
I.
no, 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 no. Listen, a lot of people know you. Come on, Steve. A lot of people know you in this industry. You got to admit that. Every time it's like,
um, I've worked with a lot of people. I guess. I assume they remember me. I
yeah,
hope
and
so.
you got a good name out there too. So,
Yep, and it's funny. My dad pioneered that name because he was in the theme park industry first, and
oh,
so
you're
I
kind
got.
of jumping the gun on me right here on
Yeah.
that
Oh,
one.
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So, as I was gonna say is, where you come from is a big part of who you really are, isn't it?
I suppose. I mean, I would say that it was at one time. I feel like I've drifted away from the theme park world a bit, just because I haven't worked at one in any capacity, in one way or the other. I mean, as we
Hmm.
talked about on your interview, like in some ways, I feel like I've aged out of it. I guess depending on what could possibly be offered, but I still feel the pull. I love going to theme parks and having a good time, and I can't wait until my son is old enough to go and really enjoy. He's actually already been to his first theme park. We, I don't even think he was one yet. Like we went and visited my family, which they're all in. My dad, and my mom, and my brothers and sisters. They're all on the East Coast in Georgia and
Hmm.
Florida. And I managed to talk my brother and his family, who I don't know. It's the rest of my family. I mean, aside from my dad, they could give a crap about theme parks and don't really want to go for whatever reason. I don't understand why. But I said, "Hey, free tickets to Disney," and my brother's a big cheapskate, so he jumped right on it. And so
I mean,
yeah,
it's free tickets to Disney, so yeah, of course. Why
right,
not, right?
right.
I
And we
mean,
get to, I mean, of course, the typical Florida thing, if you live there, which he does, is, you go to Disney and take pictures and you go, oh, look, we're a Disney family. And we got to be that for like one day. And it was pretty nice, I'll say. Even though, I mean, Disney is not my favorite park. More on that later. But we had a great time. And Blade, that's my son's name, he got
right.
to go on his first ride with mommy, and he'll probably won't remember it. He'll just get old enough and see pictures of himself and go, Disneyland, I don't remember that. And it's funny because I went through the same thing when my dad worked at Canada's Wonderland. That I got
Right.
dragged to that, and I never remember going. All I have are the pictures in
So
sepia tone.
that whole story, I don't know
Mhm.
if people aren't familiar, if they haven't gone back, is an awesome story when you actually sat down with your dad,
Mhm.
which right here, I'll show you guys right now. And this is going to be a throwback for you too, Steve, because
Mhm.
I find it, right?
Mhm. What did you
There
find?
we
The
go
first
here,
episode, or
right there. The one
there
and
it is.
only theme park legend YouTube
Ep-
episode on
Episode.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep,
I don't
was you and your dad.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know. I was just like, when you start a podcast, one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that they say to do is, oh, you need to go on YouTube too. That
Right.
way you have the potential to double your audience. And it was
Right.
just at the time, like, because I was just making stuff on my old like Mac Mini back then, and doing all that video work, rendering out the wiggly sine wave and stuff. It was just too
Uh-huh.
much work. Like, and after doing just one, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna stick to audio. But I
Uh-huh.
mean, sometimes I tell myself, I'm like, one of these days you got to put those theme park legends on YouTube, because I know there's people out there who, for whatever reason, they don't want to use a regular podcast app. They want to go on YouTube and listen to podcasts,
Right.
which I think is ridiculous. But hey, whatever.
Right. I mean, if you're gonna do it, might as well do a video cast like this. It's
Yeah, I mean, if you've got the means, might as well.
right. So I'm gonna go into chat here real quick because right here they're out in your neck of the woods and they are an awesome channel.
Hello.
Um, K and K, they are amazing. They cover Disneyland a lot and
Hmm.
everything, and they
Please
do
don't
Knott's
hold any of
Berry.
my negative thoughts about Disney against me or
Yep.
comments.
And then right here, my good buddy Tony, he does a lot of Cedar Point stuff too. So
You just mentioned two parks that I've never been to Cedar Point at all, and I've only been to Knott's once, and I love it. I love Knott's. For some
hmm
reason, people speak of it like it's less of a park because it's not a Universal or Disney park, but I love it. They've got some great roller coasters there.
yeah, I mean that's like when we talked about Six Flags on the podcast.
Hmm.
It's six. I don't hate Six Flags, and it's a love hate relationship, and I love their coasters, so
Yeah,
might as well.
absolutely. Hmm.
So going back to you with you and your dad, so you basically started. You guys started in what, Virginia, if I'm mistaken?
You mean as far as working at theme
Like, how did
parks for
you
my?
like? Yeah, so he was at Busch Gardens, and then he went up to Canada, right?
Oh, let me jump in there real quick. All right, so
Yeah.
the first ever park he worked at or in was Carowinds, which is right on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina, and that was
Yes.
like when he was a, I don't know, teenager or whatever. And then
Right.
he just stayed there and sort of worked his way into management.
I
Then,
remember he said he worked with the horses and everything.
yep, that
Yep. See,
man
I
loves.
listen.
I appreciate it, man. I really do. Yeah, and he worked his way into management, and then from there got hired to work at Canada's Wonderland. I guess they weren't too keen on living in Canada at the time, so they went back. And I mean, not to say anything bad about Canada. I mean, I've never been there. I'd love to go because I mean, technically, that's my birthplace. Because like
It's
they
just
moved.
cold and snowy.
Yeah, I've lived in Florida too long to put up with cold weather. But yeah, so we came back and got out of the theme park business for a little bit, and then jumped back in with Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and then from
Okay.
there down to Tampa, and then he moved to some other parts here and there, and now he's retired. And I was actually going to do a sort of retirement podcast for him, but I don't know. I don't think I'm emotionally ready to do that. I don't know.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome. I would surely listen to that one. Your dad had some great stories.
Oh, I'll let him know you said that.
Like they really got. I really was into that episode. That's kind of what kind of kept me going with you guys. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like this is who you're gonna have on as a guest, and it just got better and better from there. If you guys
Right.
haven't listened to any of Steve's podcasts, please do so. It's absolutely amazing.
Ah, thanks, man.
So you jumping around from park to park with your dad like that. What was your first one,
The first one that I worked at, well, that would
or that you
be.
visited?
Oh, well, like I said, I know that I was at Carowinds as a young lad at some point.
Okay.
And but I have no memory of Canada's Wonderland at all.
Okay.
My dad will tell you that it's a beautiful park. Hopefully, it still is. As far as I know, it's still up and
As
running.
far as I hear, it really is.
But yeah, Carowinds, I would say it's probably on par with the Six Flags. We got some great roller
Yeah.
coasters.
Yep.
There was actually one of the episodes, which I'm sure you listened to, was a guy who worked at Carowinds, and I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
sort of talked about its heyday when it was purchased by Paramount. For a while there, it was like
Yes.
Paramount's Carowinds, Paramount's King's Dominion. I remember those days.
Mm-hmm. I
And
sure do.
yeah, and yeah, like one of my memories was riding the Scooby Doo roller coaster and just being like, whew, kind of horrified or on the tiny little hills that they have, and just like not really sure about what was going on. But I
If you
also
guys aren't
heard,
familiar with the Scooby Doo coaster, safe to say a modern comparison would be the dragon to at Legoland.
yeah, like every park has their, they've got their really big coaster and they got their little kids coaster, and that's
Right.
what I remember going on there. And yeah, I mean, just having a good time. And I remember going back another time after they had built their water park and having an
Okay.
awesome time there as well. I think that might have been the first like water park that I'd ever been to, and that was great. It was a good time.
That's awesome. It's funny because growing up, we used to go to Williamsburg a lot
Oh,
and go
really?
to Busch Gardens, and we used to do Busch Gardens and then Wild Country USA when that was around there.
Oh yeah, Water Country USA. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's. I mean, I would
Yep.
say like the best or the golden years of like theme park attendance for me was probably Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. I would say like my friends and I, because everybody in Virginia had passes. Like my
Okay.
friends had passes, and of course we did. And basically, my parents they would just drop us all off there, and we would of
That's great.
course, you would go on all the rides at first, and then once you get tired of them, which we inevitably did, we just hung out in the arcade. And this was like the '90s, so it was the heyday of the arcade before it died out. I remember, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they had the Mortal Kombat there. Of course, they
Oh
had all the
wow.
blood taken out. And then I went to the mall and saw one with the blood turned on. And I was like, what?
What was
Uh,
this? Where
yeah.
is this? Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember one of the arcades had they had the 4-player Simpsons. They had, I think it's 6-player X-Men. Like, just I mean, it's
Yep.
sad that I shouldn't remember all this video game stuff, but I do. I mean, that's just
It's,
part of
I'm
childhood.
right there with you though, Steve.
Mhm.
It's all right. Playing. Oh, what was that racing game? That.
NASCAR, NASCAR.
No, not NASCAR. Cruising USA.
Oh yeah, classic game, classic.
Yeah, yeah. So too many quarters spent on that.
The sad thing now is that like the arcades in theme parks basically do not exist, at least that I've seen. Like
I
at
know.
Universal or the last couple parks I went to, I mean, you can go in. They have a couple of redemption games, skee ball, some crane machines, but you're not
Yeah.
going to find any fighting games or gun games or anything like that.
No.
I mean, if someone should do a documentary about what happened to the arcades in theme parks, I think that'd be pretty interesting.
That would be interesting.
You
I
get
think
to
you
the
got yourself
bottom
a
of
project, Steve.
no, man, you. That's more of a two real geeks thing.
It
But we'll
is. So
see.
you're spinning some gears here right now. You know
All
that,
right.
right? There's
Yeah.
smoke coming out my ears. All right. So I know Williamsburg. What rides was your go to in Williamsburg?
Oh man, I remember. I mean, I loved the Big Bad Wolf, which I hear no
Oh
longer
yes.
exists, sadly.
No, it's so sad.
And I want to tell you straight up that yeah, one of my sort of bucket list things to do is to go back to Busch Gardens, Virginia, because it's been a long, long time since I've been to
Mm-hmm.
that state. Period. But yeah, Big Bad Wolf was a great ride. Busch Gardens, Virginia is a beautiful park. And I love that hill that would you go down and you see, I guess, the James River right there in front of you. Do you remember
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Like, and they even spray water in your face. Like,
Yep.
that's just a
Yep.
classic. And
Yep.
and I think at that time I was still, when I showed up to that park, I was like, I don't want to go on anything with loops. I'm afraid. So the Big Bad Wolf was a good start.
Right, because
And
it was just a swing course, no loops, no nothing, and
right, a what do they
but
call
you
it?
did work your way to Loch Ness Monster, though, right?
Oh yes, we'll see. That's a
Okay.
funny story, or just memory. Somewhere along the line, I guess my friends and I were at the park, or maybe I was there with my mom. I don't remember. But then my dad got off work and he was like, "You should come and ride the Drachenfire with me." Do you remember the Drachenfire?
No, I don't.
Oh, that is a notorious coaster because when it came out, it gave everybody
Okay.
whiplash, and
Okay.
also, well, I don't think they were filming on the Drachenfire. Actually, I think it was the Big Bad Wolf. They were filming a commercial with Fabio, and while he was on the coaster, a
I,
bird flew in his face.
I
Yeah,
remember that. I
yeah, yeah,
remember
yeah.
that. Oh yeah.
If you watch the Duff Gardens episode of The Simpsons, like they parody all this stuff, like all of it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
anyway, my dad was like, "Let's go ride the Drachenfire. Like, I'll buy you anything you want. I'll just get on the coaster and close your eyes. You'll be fine." And I'm like, "Okay, Dad, whatever you say." And so I went from not riding anything with loops to the Drachenfire, which had tons of loops at the time. And I mean, when I got off, I loved it, and I was like, I don't need anything. I don't need your stinking prizes, Dad. And it was so great. And then I rode the Loch Ness Monster, and that ride was infinitely better than the Drachenfire because the
Mm-hmm.
Drachenfire, even when they improved it, it was like super rough. I mean, you really had to like jam the back of your head into the seat because it'll like push you around like that, and you will. I mean, I never got whiplash, but it's a high probability that you would. But yeah, I gained a great appreciation for the Loch Ness Monster because it was just so smooth. That drop at the beginning, again, right by the James River, you go down. There's like smoke and stuff that's supposed to be coming from the monster.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, great coaster. And I mean, and I would say that those are definitely the highlights from that park. I mean, I remember I used to ride some of the more carny rides. They had that it was called the Da Vinci's Cradle, and it's just one of those that goes.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I don't know why I liked that one for a while, and then after a while, I was like, yeah, this is disgusting. But I remember the Questor. Do you remember the Questor? Were you there when they had the Questor?
No, I don't believe so.
That was the first motion simulator ride I ever went on, and they eventually turned it into, I can't remember what it's called, but it was hosted by the guy. He's one of the three amigos. He was in that. God, the name is escaping me. But anyway, the Questor, you're basically get into this like ship that's they have like some animatronic Muppets that talk to you when you first come in, which I love
Oh, that's
those.
cool.
I hate that parks are like getting rid of those, but anyway,
Yeah.
classic stuff. And he's like, "Ooh, we need to use your energy to power our ship, so we can find the crystal or something along those lines." And
Okay.
I was like all on board. Basically, you get in, you strap yourself in, you're in a, basically a theater with a bunch of other people, and the ship
Okay.
shrinks and burrows through the earth and just flies and goes all over the place.
That sounds so cool.
It was
Wow.
cool. I would kill for a T-shirt for that ride because it doesn't exist anymore.
Wow.
And I don't even know what they have in its place. I want to say it was called like Akbar's Adventure or something along those lines. It wasn't as good. Martin
Okay.
Short, that's who it was. It was Martin Short. Instead of
Okay.
instead of animatronic Muppets, they had a Hollywood Muppet by the name of Martin Short. And yeah, and I mean, he was fine. He was basically doing like, something you'd see on Aladdin or whatever, probably an accent that would get him canceled these days.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, it was cute or whatever. But yeah,
Right.
like those
That's
are
cool.
Yeah, that is one. Those are my favorite rides, I would say, and the arcades from Busch Gardens, Williamsburg.
Okay. So from there, how'd you get to our, the Mecca, as you like to call it, the
The Mecca.
Mecca of theme parks,
How did we get to Florida? Well, my dad's ambition drove us to Florida. They basically were like, "We're sending you to Florida, boy." That's how I imagine. That's how I imagine they talked to him, even though he was a fully grown man.
It's like
Because
we're
I guess
pulling you from the minor leagues and putting you up here in the majors. Let's go.
right, right. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a lateral move. I think, but
Yeah.
I think a step up for him. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have done it. I guess a position was open. He applied for it and got it. And the next thing you knew, hey, family, we're moving to Florida. And we were
Was it
all,
just like he came home one day, he's like, hey, pack up, we're out of here? Or it's just like, hey, what do you guys
um,
think about this?
well, I mean, there'd been, it's weird. There had been other rumblings of, of other possible parks for him to pursue. Ironically enough, they were opening up a park in Malaysia at some point, which is right next to
Oh, wow.
Singapore.
Yeah.
And he actually went there and visited it and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if he turned it down for Florida or if it just didn't pan out. But whatever, that park didn't even end up getting built. So yeah, I mean, just there were rumblings about Florida, and then finally one day he's like, "Hey, I got the word. We're moving to Florida," and I was excited about it. I always looked at moving as a positive thing. I don't know
Right.
about the rest of my
Fresh start,
siblings. Yeah, sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
sure. Although I don't know, sort of comparing Virginia to Florida, sometimes I might think Virginia might have it beat in a few ways. But no need to go into that territory. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how we ended up in Florida,
Okay. Was it
Tampa
now, were you still in
specifically.
school at this point, or were
Oh,
you?
sure. I was in fifth grade or sixth
Okay.
grade. Yeah, sixth grade. So yeah, and we've gone through this a few times. Basically, my dad ends up going to wherever we're gonna move first, and then we finish school and then move down with him later. And that's pretty much what happened here. And we moved into our house, and then I started seventh grade in just outside of Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Mhm.
So right outside Tampa, which means he was in Busch Gardens.
Yeah, yeah, Busch Gardens, Tampa.
Yeah.
Yep. Hmm.
Yep. Awesome. So you were very frequent to Busch Gardens then?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, of course, there were a lot of differences. I mean, of course, it's always hot in Florida. I mean,
Right.
yeah, like if there's maybe 1 month that I'd say that's nice to be outside.
Well,
But
recently it's been cold down here, so
oh, nice. That's very cool. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
actually cold over
winter
here
jacket
too.
cold.
Not to get into some old man talk about the weather, but yeah, it's been cold here too. Uh, but yeah, I would definitely say that Busch Gardens Tampa is not as nice in appearance as
Hmm.
Busch Gardens Virginia, but it's themed differently. So when Busch Gardens Virginia, when we first got to it, it was referred to as Busch Gardens the Old Country. So you go
Right.
there and there's lots of depending on the area you're in, there's sort of old English looking area, that kind of stuff. And in
Hmm.
Tampa, it used to be called Busch Gardens the Dark Continent, referring to Africa, because apparently that's what it used to be called. So if you go there, I
Okay.
mean, that's why they have all the animals there. And I guess that's
Gotcha.
definitely one thing they have a leg up over on Busch Gardens Williamsburg is Busch Gardens Tampa is essentially a theme park and a zoo all in one.
Hmm.
And they've got some, all the major animals that you'd want to see there. I remember they have a great sort of what is it nocturnal area where maybe not nocturnal, but you can see snakes and lizards. Of course, all you have to do is walk out into the regular Florida, a park to see plenty of lizards and snakes as well. But but yeah, I enjoyed the animals and stuff there, and
Awesome.
they have I mean they've really accumulated quite a bit of coasters.
Oh yeah.
Since my dad was there and after he left. One of the last coasters I remember they built there was Gwazi, which was a really fun wooden roller coaster, which you
So
told
you
me.
saw Gwazi going in,
No, no, coming out, coming out.
coming out. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Okay.
after my dad had been there for a while. Yeah, I guess I should back up. I mean, when we first got
Well,
there,
what I mean is since they just RMC Gwazi to Iron Gwazi, so you
mhm,
saw Gwazi as
a wooden roller coaster.
a wooden roller
Hmm.
coaster in original form, like
Yes,
the start
absolutely.
of it. That's
Hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. I rode. I think it's one of those that it's kind of like a dueling coaster, right? You have to get on two different
Yes.
ones to. Yep, I remember.
Yes.
I was on that. I think that was actually one of the last times I ever went to Busch Gardens, Tampa, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But yeah, when I first got there, the coasters that I can remember are the Kumba, which was great. The
Mm-hmm.
Scorpion, which is like a smaller, might even be their kids coaster, if I'm not mistaken. Feel free to correct me here if I'm
I haven't been to
misremember.
that park, so I
Oh
really
no?
don't.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No.
And then they built. Let's see. I said the Kumba, Gwazi, Scorpion. There's one that's supposed to be like I don't. You're supposed to be like a leopard, and it's you're the way it runs. It's like the way a leopard would run. Like that's a
Okay.
great coaster too. Actually, that was the last time I went to Busch Gardens Tampa because we went to their Halloween event, which is really great if you've never been. Halloween is a little more adult than Halloween Horror Nights is. They haven't,
Yes.
buckled under the pressure. Like there's still like scary stuff and blood. And yeah, and
Well, did you hear? Are you aware that it's at SeaWorld now? Also, Hollow Scream.
oh no, I did not know that. That's cool.
They brought it since it's under the same company. They brought Hollow Scream up to SeaWorld, and it actually did pretty well last year. It was last year was its first year.
That's great.
So
That's awesome. And yeah, so yeah, you should definitely check out Hello Scream. I wish I
hmm
could remember the name of that leopard roller coaster. I'm sure I could quickly search it, but I don't want to. Anyway, I'll just keep going here with whatever I can remember.
yeah, that's fine.
Um, let's see, Quasi Kumba, but yeah, yeah, great coasters, and then I mean, those are the ones that and the animals, and that's really what I remember the
Right.
most there.
So now you're in Florida. Is this where in school, obviously high school going?
Hmm.
Looking for a job. So is the theme park industry within the high school job era, or did it start then, or
No, like I
really?
yeah, I don't know why I never really went to work in the park. Um I just ended up working at a grocery store, which is a lot less glamorous. Um
Hey, we
I
got to
don't
start somewhere, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I remember like I think I remember a few times because when high school came around, that's when I started getting into acting and drama and stuff. And I remember they were opening up their ride for wait, actually that's much later. I do know that technically my dad kind of got me my first production gig. I mean, I wasn't paid or anything, but basically they were shooting a commercial at Busch Gardens in Tampa, and
Okay.
he basically was just like asked them, I'm sure, slash probably told them that my boy is interested in production. It's like, do you mind if he hangs around? And I did, and they let me like run the slate basically.
Okay.
And it was really interesting. Like it was cool. I got to see them. They got to go backstage and film the giraffes and stuff. Which
That's cool.
giraffes have a really long black tongue, in case you've ever wondered. Um, but that was yeah, that was a little bit later in high school, and I don't know. I don't know why I think like in that time there might have been a bit of rebellion to where I think everybody goes through it to where they're just like ooh, whatever you're doing, dad, mom, I'm gonna do the opposite. Like that's
Right, right. So
um,
I understand. I understand that one.
yeah. And so yeah, so basically my dad ended up going to. I mean, he worked at Busch Gardens, Tampa for I don't know,
Hmm.
however many years. And unfortunately, he just kept getting passed over for stuff. And so, again, his ambition brought him to Silver Dollar City in Arkansas.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say ooh, but it's something. And at that time, I was already out of high school, so
Okay.
they went ahead and moved, and I was like, I'm in a band, man. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna become a rock star. You guys just go to Arkansas and do your thing, okay?
Right, right,
I'll be
right.
fine here. I was going to community college, and yeah, so I stayed in Tampa. Although a few years later, I actually did end up going and working or not or living with them and going to college up in Missouri. Wait, actually, yeah,
Okay.
Silver Dollar City is in Missouri, not
This is
Arkansas. I
Missouri.
so sorry.
Branson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that place definitely has its charms, but it's not a place that I would ever like
Y-
to live in or return to.
Yeah, no. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
like
way far from civilization.
I will say though, Silver Dollar City does have a really the big attraction for that is their cave slash mine. I think it was. I
Yeah.
don't. And
It's like a
that was
crystal cave, if I'm not mistaken.
something like that. Yeah, and I remember going through that the first time we got the grand tour, and they had some decent coasters too. Nothing that I really remember.
They've
But
blew up big time recently. They've expanded so much. They got their train is amazing with the whole train robbery and all that,
that's
and
cool.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So
but yeah, like while they were there, I do remember auditioning Busch Gardens, Tampa, for
hmm
they had a ride where you get in a Range Rover and they drive around the
yes.
yeah, and
What was it? It was a safari trek or something like that,
something
or
like that. And yeah, I
yeah.
auditioned to be the driver slash host actor or whatever it was, and didn't get it for whatever reason. No big
Okay.
deal. But yeah, so to fast forward here, yeah, I went and lived with them for a little bit
Okay.
in Branson. Then once again, my dad got this time. This was a bit of a swerve. He got sent to Dolly Parton's Dixie Stampede in Orlando, which is no longer in Orlando.
No longer around.
So yeah, he once again he went down. I guess the rest of my siblings were finishing up school, and I was like,
Okay.
"This place isn't for me. I want to go back to Florida." So they ended up moving to Orlando with my dad. I went back to Tampa, got into another band, um, and like just did that for a while. And at one point, I don't know, the band ended, and the whatever roommate situation I was in was also falling apart. And during this, whenever my parents moved away from me or vice versa, they always try to entice me to move back. And so my dad was like, "Hey,
Rhino
there you
Rally.
go, Rhino Rally. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
for that.
Theme park lifestyle. All right." So yeah, and so my dad was like, "You should come down and work for me as a server," which,
Oh,
ironically,
jeez.
yeah,
Which, like, all right, well, I'm a musician and trying to be an actor. That's the career that I wanted to go down is to be a server.
well, see, all right, this is how he spun it for me. Like, all right, so for those of you who may or may not know, the Dixie Stampede is a dinner theater, and you
Right.
go there and you eat and you watch this sort of mock contest between the North and the South. They just do horse tricks and whatnot, and they do have a well, I really only saw the Christmas version, and I'll get to that in a second. But they have a
Okay.
host. So my dad was like, you could move from server, and once they have auditions, you could audition to be, whatever. Like I'm sure they'll teach you how to ride a horse or something. Um,
Right.
so I was like, I mean, basically, I was like out of everything in Tampa. Like, so I was like, sure, why not? Let's give it a shot. So went down. It was the holiday season, so they had switched over to their holiday show. So it was the North
Okay.
Pole versus the South Pole. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then they had all this Christmas music and whatnot, and the tips that my dad spoke of, these heavy money tips, they were not there, and I think the
Nope.
reason why is because within a month of me working there, that place closed down. Uh, and like he had already left because, like, okay, there's only, I swear, only in the theme park business or wherever my dad shows up are there ever any rules about nepotism. Because like they were trying to start a union there or something. So my dad,
Okay.
he was already leaving to go work at yet another Hershon park, this time in Arkansas for real. And so he was
Okay.
like, "Hey, let me get you a job before I leave." And I'm like, "Okay." So a month goes by, and I mean, it was fun working there. Like everyone kept asking me, "It's like, what do you know, Steve? What do you know? Is this place shutting down? What's going on?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. Nobody's telling me
I
anything."
just work here.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, they assumed my dad would know, and he didn't. I guess they keep
Right.
everyone in the dark up until the day of, and we didn't even know, yeah, up until the day of,
That's rough.
and yeah, and then and then it was announced that it was over. And if you go and try to look for the Dixie Stampede, you will find outlet malls instead. Um,
Where
but
was it located?
Oh man, I want to. Is it? Um, you could see it from one of the interstates. What's one of the big ones?
4.
Yeah, I-4. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you could see it from I-4. It's been a while, man. It's been a while.
So it was right
But
around International then?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And yeah, so that was the end of that. So luckily, I was living at home, and I had to drag myself back home. And I was like, well, what do I do now? And I was just looking around at all the possibilities, and I mean, I think the one that was most likely to happen was Starbucks. I remember I interviewed there,
Okay.
and but at the same time, I saw that Universal Studios was having an audition, and I was like, "Hey, I love Universal Studios because that's where all the Marvel superheroes are. Maybe I could go be one of those." And Like the night before, I went up and drank with my friends in Tampa, and then drove back, and then dragged myself to the audition and made up a pretty lame monologue. And
Which, if you guys aren't familiar with Tampa and Orlando, it's really not that far. It's only about 2 hours with
nah,
traffic,
yeah. I mean,
maybe.
it's
So,
only a little jaunt up and down one of the most dangerous
yeah,
stretches of interstate you've ever been on. Um,
exactly.
but yeah, so dragged myself to the audition, did my monologue, and they were like,
Hmm.
"How do you feel about our costume characters?" And I'm like, "I feel great about them." And so from there, it was the waiting game. I had to wait to come back for fitting. And then after that, it was
Okay.
yet another waiting game. And I
When
wanted
you
the,
came back for a fitting, did they say who they're fitting you for?
I think at that point, we definitely saw Shrek, like sort of like a Shrek pod. I don't think there was any talk of Homer Simpson yet. If
Okay.
I had heard that, I probably would have exploded with excitement because I love The Simpsons.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, so I think at this point, I just assumed I was going to be Shrek. And yeah, so they fit us in it, and I'm just like, fingers crossed, because I'm just like, oh man, I really need this job. And I mean, which is kind of true. I mean, that was like, I think the first time I was ever unemployed. Like I had always had a job up until that
Right.
point.
Right.
Um, so yeah, a few days go by, and I'm like looking at the calendar, and I think I was like, here comes Martin Luther King Day. No one's gonna call on that, but they called anyway.
Nope.
and they offered it to me, and I was
That's
just
great.
I was ecstatic. Yeah, like I couldn't wait to make barely minimum wage.
See, you remember exactly the time that Universal called exactly like I did too. Like that's great. I mean, it's for hard for me to forget. It was literally on the week of my birthday, so I'm
Hmm.
never gonna forget that one. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
so
Yeah.
that starts your theme park career now, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's man, that's a
So
long. Well, we were talking about my dad too, so you can blame him. But
well, it's built. It was a great build up to how you actually got into all this, and your mindset with it, and how
right.
you did you ever see yourself in this position, or I mean,
Um,
before all this stuff.
like, all right, when around that age, as I said before, I was kind of too cool for school on a lot of things,
Yeah.
and I mean, really there's if you want to be an actor or performer, there's no reason not to go audition to be in theme parks, because it's the only, I mean, outside of like working in a club or something, it's really one of the few steady gigs you can get. But I mean, at the time though, I mean, I would just like look at it and I just wouldn't see myself there. Like I never saw myself at Busch Gardens like doing anything, just because I don't know, like I just didn't see any characters there that I thought that I could pull off at the time, or anything that I was
Right.
passionate about. But comic books and Marvel superheroes, oh man, I there was very little that I was more passionate about than that back then, because I'd been a long
Which Marvel character were you trying to get to be?
Captain America. I loved Captain America. Is one of the first comics I ever read. I remember my
Awesome.
uncle read it to me, and he was also one of the characters that I would play in Marvel vs. Capcom, and I was like, I am like I could pull that off. Like, never mind the
And you
fact
also
that
wanted to ride the cool vehicle coming out into IOA too, you know?
I just wanted that shield, man. Like, but sure. I mean, that that's all part of a rich tapestry of fun, basically. But I don't know. It was still like pretty dumb thinking, because like I really wasn't in shape for it. I thought maybe I would go in there and wow them with my acting skills, and then they would train
Hmm.
me. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You got to look the part first, and then like the
Hmm.
acting is secondary. Because I mean,
Yep.
I don't know. Depending on who you get, you don't always get the best portrayal of of the superhero at that time, possibly. I mean, I haven't been there in a while. I don't know, but yeah, some people are hit or miss. Is
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I mean, some of I knew I made friends with a couple guys who did it, and they were great. But
Yeah.
not everybody. Some people care more about working out than they do about working on their character. There, how about that?
That's fair. It's fair, and
Yeah.
that's what a lot of them say too. So now now you get to be the big green guy now, right? How was that?
And by that you mean Shrek, not the Incredible Hulk. Well, I mean, of course that was fine, but finding out that I got to play Homer Simpson, oh, that was just. I was like, who needs Captain America? Because again, I mean, I'm a big nerd or geek, since this is two real geeks. Like, the two
Exactly.
things that I've like been into for the longest were probably, Marvel Comics and The
Hmm.
Simpsons. And to get to even just be a little bit a part of that IP, just as a guy in a suit, was just, that was like a dream almost to me. Of course, once I got
And
into the
Homer
suit.
gets a lot of love in that park.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Shrek too. Shrek. I mean, I
Yep.
love the Shrek movies were cool too. I mean,
Yep.
when it came out, I thought it was fun, but I wasn't like passionate about it like I am about the Simpsons or the Marvel
Right.
superheroes. And again, so yeah, I was more than happy to portray Shrek, but to play Homer Simpson was
So
a dream come
basically, when
true.
you put Shrek on, you would basically, I mean, obviously you would act differently, but like
Hmm.
internally in you, you would like feel more connected to Homer and like
Oh,
be
sure.
like, yes, I'm gonna
Well, I
have a good
mean,
day at work.
yeah, but I mean, Shrek and I have a lot in common. I'll admit that straight up. And getting to be him after a while, I realized that. And yeah, so I mean, both characters, have their pluses and minuses, especially as far as the suit is concerned. Like, I felt maybe Shrek could breathe a little bit more than that Homer suit. Oh, spoiler
Okay.
alert, everyone. Yeah, they're suits. I'm sorry. Like I, I mean, I'm sure you've realized by now, Danny, that I get some people who still won't like break the Disney like code of, oh, I was hanging out with Mickey. It's like lies. You were Mickey, you fool. Come on, you're an
You hear me
adult.
talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. He's like, wait, how about this? Wait, was there air conditioning in those suits?
Well, there was a fan inside Homer. All it did was blow hot air. I mean,
Yeah,
but no, it
but
was
you understand what I'm saying because I'm sure
yes.
you get that one a lot.
Oh,
Was there air
sure.
conditioning in there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but no, getting to play both characters for a while was pretty great. After a while, though, like you start to think, what else do you have to offer, like the park, aka the world, like as a
Mm-hmm.
performer? And
Right.
I considered myself a funny guy. So I'm like, man, I would love to, get to actually talk to the guests. Like I always hated it when someone would come up and say something stupid to Homer or
And you
Shrek,
have to be like,
and I just have to go, like, I can just go,
yeah.
like,
But did you have any good memories from those roles though? Like,
oh,
just anything
absolutely.
stand out? Like,
Sure. Like, whenever they would bring along the Make-A-Wish kids, or really just any kids at all. Like, I love kids. And when they come up and they're excited, unfortunately, a lot of them are afraid of Shrek and Homer because they're so tall. But you get
right.
down on one knee, maybe you get them to come over and get a nice hug and a picture from mom and dad. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it's all about right there. And
Exactly.
I met a lot of people who worked in the theme park business and entertainment business who don't like kids, and I'm just like, what are you doing here? Like,
Right.
uh,
Exactly.
I mean, I get that, they can get on your nerves, but I mean, still, like, kids are, not to get too deep in it, they're, for the most part, a blank slate. So, you just
Mm-hmm.
gotta, and they're, you want to help keep up the magic for them as long as you can.
And you, especially you guys in the costumes, you guys are making their vacation so much more
Right.
magical and more experience to them than that's a family picture that they're going to go around and show their family and friends that, hey, look what we did. We met
Sure,
Homer,
sure.
we met Shrek.
Right. As they told us in training, it's like you can never actually meet Homer or Shrek, but this is the closest you'll ever get. Unless
You're
they,
right.
create like an Oculus game in VR or something, then maybe it'll get
Yeah.
better. I don't know, but for right now, this is the best. And so yeah, I was. I mean, I really threw myself into the work. It was my first time getting paid to perform, and like, I mean, of course, like we made money as a band, but it always went back into the band, and I never saw a dime. Like this was the first time I was able to like
Yeah.
support myself. Even though I lived in like the rattiest apartment with my friends, just only a few blocks away from Universal. But
Really.
when you're in your, yeah, it was called Island Club Apartments. Like, I actually tried to ride my bike to work a few times, and I'm like, this road is too dangerous. Forget this. And
Which road? Because there's so many dangerous roads over there.
what's the one that it has that that McDonald's that's just outside of Universal that everyone goes to? I think it has like the
Oh,
big.
yeah, Turkey Lake.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there you go.
Right
Yeah,
outside the employee parking over
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Turkey
That's
Lake.
it. Yep.
But the good thing about you riding your bike is you got to park right next to the gate.
Well, see, they didn't get rid. The employee parking was where it used to be, by the gate.
Hmm.
I hear now, what, you guys have to take a shuttle into work or something? Like the or the.
Um, so how it works is you pull in to Turkey Lake. There's
Mhm.
was the structure there when you were there, the parking structure.
Not there. They added on to it, right?
There's a lot, and there's the parking structure. Like there's like it looks like a like the what the guests park in, but there's one in the
Oh yeah,
back
see, I never
also.
saw that. But all right, so that's where you guys park now.
So we have that, and then what they do is they walk through gate two,
Hmm.
and then yeah, there is the shuttle there that will take you to Iowa or Volcano Bay. If you were in studios, it's right there. So you're
Hmm.
basically in behind House of Studios. So
Nice. Hold on, I just clicked. Wow, you got a lot of people in your chat here. But
yeah,
Steve,
well,
you're not green.
sorry
What do you
guys.
have common with Shrek? I don't know. Like maybe some I mean at the time some introverted kind of feelings towards stuff. Like ogres have layers, and I was like, so do I, man. So do I. But I've worked
Exactly.
through all that stuff a long time ago. All right, this is distracting me. I need to go back over. Okay, there we go. If you see anyone asking questions, let me know.
We'll
Um,
do. We'll do.
so yeah, all right. So as I was saying, I just wanted to like see where else I fit in the park. I was also what they call an escort, or what they call at other parks like character attendant. And I kind of enjoyed that because that allowed me to actually talk to the guests and joke around with them and
Okay.
stuff. I had a pretty
So
easy
that meant
time.
what you were escorting the characters at that point?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. A lot of, I mean, it just meant more hours because you weren't
That's
guaranteed
good.
any hours. And if you're a tall guy, at that time, there were really only three characters you could do in the entire park: Shrek, Homer, and Guy from Green Eggs and Ham. And let me
Mm.
tell you, when I was working at Universal, this is before they opened Harry Potter, and things were not good. Things were not good, and they were cutting characters left and right. And you want to know who they cut first? The tall people, for some reason. So, I mean, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I remember they went down to like one Shrek at one point, and they completely
Oh
got rid
wow.
of Guy. So yeah. So a lot of people do character escorting, and that was fun. It was always pretty easy for me because people tend to not want to argue with someone who's 6'2". Like, unfortunately, I saw a lot of like the smaller ladies having a hard time with guests and stuff.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for them for sure. But
Yeah.
eventually, they had an audition for like a couple of things. Um, I think it was around Christmas. They were doing, it was
Mm-hmm.
like Rocky Horror Picture Show,
Okay.
the Captain America, or not Captain America, but Marvel superheroes,
Okay.
Donkey, and the Grinch.
Uh
So I
huh.
wrote this audition slash monologue that encompassed like all these like voices, like one for Captain America, one for Donkey, and one
Okay.
for the Grinch. And I remember I got callbacks for the Grinch and Donkey, and I worked really hard on those. Like, I would just be in my
That's
room, just
awesome.
listening to the same like YouTube or Donkey YouTube clips over and over again, because like if you back then, like the wait to do these like auditions was so long, and I was just like, I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste my time. I need more money. I
Mm-hmm.
need more hours. Like, I got to make this work. So so yeah, like basically I went in there, got callbacks for Grinch and Donkey. The way you do a callback for Donkey is you have to call someone on a phone and leave a message. Um,
Okay.
and I did that and didn't hear anything for a while. And this is gonna date me. They had At one point they had Hellboy in the park, because the
Oh,
Hellboy sequel was coming
really?
out. Yeah,
Okay.
and I was like, hey, that sounds like another thing I can pull off. I went in,
Mm-hmm.
had a great audition because like they said so, and so that made me think that I was going to get it. And then my phone rang like a week later or whatever, and I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, it's casting. Here I go, Hellboy, because like my goal, no matter what, was to play a superhero. Like, I didn't care who it
Yeah. Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, congratulations, we'd like to offer you the role of Donkey. And I was just like, oh, well, okay.
Hmm.
And yeah, and that began that.
Well, that's a good thing. That was a more steady roll than
Oh yeah,
Hellboy. 'Cause-
because yeah, Hellboy came and went. Unfortunately,
yeah.
the guy that got to do it was pretty good. Like I would say, my voice was there probably, but I don't know. Maybe he was the a better build or whatever. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Donkey was
So
the way to go
Donkey.
anyway.
Wow. How was that?
Oh man, it was the best. I mean, and that was like the role. I mean, that was like peak theme park career. Oh my gosh, peak theme
Oh,
park
you're good.
career for me because I mean that role took me around the world basically.
Really?
Yeah, I mean that's what led to my foreign contract at Universal Singapore. I'll try to condense some of this stuff. Like, okay, so basically, when you get offered like a new role, basically you get thrown into I don't forgot a pool basically.
Okay.
So myself and another guy who got offered the roles, we are like the bottom rung of the donkeys. You've got the contracted guys, like three guys, two guys who are guaranteed like 40 hours apiece, and then another like sort of fill-in guy. And then if those guys
Okay.
aren't available, then they hit the pool. So there were many times when, like, I was basically at the beginning, I only got to do donkey occasionally. So it's a nice little tease. But there were a lot of times where I was like, it's like 90 degrees in the middle of July, and it's like, all right, time to go in and do Shrek again or Homer or whoever. And like after warm ups or maybe before, they go, Steve, you're getting pulled to donkey. And it's like, oh boy. Because that meant like double the money and inside an air conditioned booth getting to make fun of people for 8 hours or not even 8 hours. It's like 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. Like,
So how does Donkey work?
he is a basically an animatronic puppet.
Right.
Like basically, you know, you get like half of them, and this is his mouth here. There's like two bicycle handles that are on the side.
Okay.
You twist one for the eyes. I can't really remember what the other one does. There's little buttons that make the eyes open and close, and you control the
Okay.
mouth with a kick drum pedal.
Okay.
Yeah, like for a drum. So yeah, I mean, basically, that's training is basically, you know, you stamp down every time you do a syllable, and at the same time, you know, you have to be able to improv and joke around with the guests, which you know, at first the training can be a bit daunting, and you know, it's weird because you know, you do have to be approved once you get through your training, and
Yep.
like other people will tell you like because like there's two sections in entertainment basically. There's animated, which is all the suit characters, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere, which are the face characters, donkey, and anyone where you can see someone. They're making more, and generally
Okay.
they're, you know, they've got a few years over. They're a little older than the atmosphere side or the animated side. A lot of people say animated is high school and atmosphere is college. But yeah, like so. Of course, even though they'll come and tell you, "Oh, don't worry, everyone gets approved," you at least I was like, "Well, what if I'm the first one who doesn't?" But
Yeah.
of
It's always
course,
there. It's like, but what if I don't? You know?
right, right, right. But yeah, after I don't know, I think it was 2 weeks of training, maybe just one. You know, I eventually, you know, I got approved, and then it was just off to the donkey races from there.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and it was just sort of business as usual for a while. And basically, I don't know. There's a again like when I first got into Universal, you know, I really threw myself in the work, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna show them that I'm the best Shrek, Homer, or
Mm-hmm.
Donkey that I could be, so I could get more
Right.
hours. Well, you realize real fast that it doesn't work that way. Like I remember when I saw another training group come in after hours, and I was like, "Why are you hiring more people? I'm fully available. Like, what are you doing?" Like, well, that's just not how it
Mm-hmm.
works. They make sure they have
No.
like, you know, tons of people who can fill in for when other
Yep.
people calls in, and I mean, and there's no contract to be Shrek or any of those Sue characters. It's just like it's just minimum wage work, and they just if you're there and breathing and you're not, you know, sexually harassing people, then they'll keep you on and keep giving you work.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, and it was the same pretty much for Donkey almost. Like I was like, I'm gonna get myself one of them there contracts. And then like after a while I realized I was like you know, these guys aren't going anywhere. They had
Yeah.
you know, they were a bit older than myself. They had families. They were like there when the park opened basically. So I was like the only way for me to get a contract is for one of these guys to get a job somewhere else. So somehow I started hearing rumblings about a contract, a foreign contract at a new Universal park in Singapore. And
Mm.
it wasn't even an audition. They just asked for an MP3 and a resume and headshot because I guess they were so desperate for people. Because
Hmm.
I heard that other roles had to audition, but yeah, whatever. I sent in my info, yada yada yada. I'm really trying to condense stuff here, and I got it.
Yep.
And yeah, and that was basically that was
That's
my first
also
foreign contract. I mean, also I had heard about foreign contracts when I first started working. It sounded great because it was always my
yeah.
dream to go to Japan. Never got Japan, but Singapore was
There
probably
you
just as
go.
good, I'd say.
There you go.
Hmm.
So then from Orlando, you end up in Singapore now?
That's right. Only doing
Wow.
donkey. No more sweating it out in the hot Florida sun. Um, and
That's great.
yeah, it was. And I mean, it was a bit different. Instead of a puppet, it was actually people go into a theater, and like there's a massive screen there, and on there is a,
Mm-hmm.
CGI donkey, and you're back there controlling it with an Xbox controller. And yeah, it was super easy. No more pumping down on the drum
right.
thing. Yeah, but I mean, of course, like there was a new challenge in trying to figure out what makes like Southeast Asians laugh. Not to mention that a lot of people
I can imagine.
would come into our show didn't speak a lick of English.
Mm.
And
So they have no idea what Donkey's saying now.
right, right, they were just herded in by some you know, park employee and were told to sit down, and they listened. Um, but
Wow.
yeah, like again, I was all in, really like threw myself into the work and wanted to show them that I was the, you know, the best donkey that I could be. I actually got to work their first Halloween event, not technically horror nights, but and that was
Okay.
actually my first time working a haunt. I got to be a
Mm.
zombie like grave digger. Basically, people would come in and we would come
Okay.
at them with the shovel and bang it on the cement. And
Right.
let me tell you, scaring Southeast Asians is like shooting fish in a barrel. Like it was
Is
so
it
easy,
really?
so easy.
Really?
I mean, just because like Halloween is not a big deal. Like Halloween is really only a big deal in the U.S. Like it's getting bigger
Yeah.
elsewhere. They'd never seen
Yeah.
anything like that before. They'd never even had
Mm-mm.
a roller coaster there before they built Universal Singapore. So a lot of people, it was their first time seeing a lot of this stuff. And I mean, and it was great to be a part of it, to be a part of the grand opening of a park. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
lot of problems at the beginning, a lot of problems, at least in terms of like we were there, but the park and like a lot of our theaters weren't even built yet. So there was just a lot of downtime. And I mean, I didn't have a problem with that, but there was a lot of people who were like, oh, I don't know what to do with myself. But are you kidding? We're getting paid to explore Southeast Asia. It's like, you know, just live it up. And I tried
Yeah.
to the best of my abilities.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So where'd you end up from there, and how long were you over there? I mean,
I was at Universal Singapore for 3 years, and
okay.
while I was there, you know, explored a lot of the other region. As I told you before, I went to
Yep.
Legoland, Malaysia. I mean,
Yep.
it was just like my well, what was going to be the Legoland park that I was going to end up working at. Man, this is turning into a really long stream. Uh,
It's
but
fine.
okay, as long as you don't
It's
care.
fine. No, no, no. We've had streams that have gone like 4 hours straight,
Oh
so it's
wow,
we're
wow, wow.
fine. We're fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, went to Legoland there for the first time. Like, I'll go to any theme park. Like, I don't care. Like, I mean, I could barely fit into a lot of those rides because they're just, they're made for kids and stuff. But we got in there anyway. Enjoyed it for what it was because my dad's friend Dennis Gilbert, I think you listened to his episode probably.
Mm-hmm.
He was consulting at Universal Singapore at the time, so
Okay.
he got us into Legoland Malaysia for free, and
That's cool.
yeah, and yeah. No, aside the only other, I was really trying to get into some other roles out there. I was training hard because they had the Waterworld show.
Yeah,
And
I really wish we had that here in Orlando. That's all I know.
Yeah, and I was pretty close to, I think, getting into that. But when the third year came,
Really? That would have been
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Tell me, I mean, that was really the only like thing that I could have done that would have been kind of a step up because, like, I mean, I was already getting paid well for Donkey. Like the dancers got paid more than us, and then above them were the stuntmen over at
Okay.
Waterworld. And I mean, I can't, or rather, won't dance. So I was like, this looks like a lot of fun. I mean, of course, I wanted to go for the deacon role, which is more of an actor role. And the
Mm-hmm.
weird thing was, is that like their auditions, it was a separate company, one that was running Waterworld. So their auditions was at a different time than um uh hold on one second. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um their auditions was at a different time than the rest of the park. So I think they're like for the second time when I renewed for Donkey, like they
Yep.
called a week later or text messaged me or something where they're like, "So did you take that Donkey contract?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Oh, okay, well enjoy." And I was like, "Ah, that could have been it, man." But and then for whatever reason, when the third year came along, and I like they switched management, so I don't know. I guess that guy wasn't keen on me, so yeah, I wasn't reoffered anything after the third year,
Okay.
and so that was the end of my time at Universal Singapore. Oh, and I got married while I was out there. That's kind of an
Can't
important
forget
part.
that. You know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's so something major did come out of that
Oh
contract.
no, I mean
So
the whole thing was major. Like just getting
exactly,
to.
it sounded like you had a lot of fun out there.
Oh, it was. It was like the closest. Oh, she went to work. She went to work. Why don't you go watch your show? Sorry, everyone.
Oh, it's fine.
Maybe let's see what he does. Hopefully, he doesn't try to come in here. But yeah,
Either way, you're fine.
yeah, like it was great. Just
So you
like,
got married, and then you coming home now? Is after
yep,
that, or
yep. That basically at that point, my parents had settled in Valdosta, Georgia. Actually, I think
okay?
my dad was still working somewhere, but yeah, and yeah, basically, I came home with my bride, and we lived with them for a little bit. We were getting
Okay.
all set to move out to LA because I'd always wanted to move to California since I was in high
Right.
school to take my
Right.
shot at the what? The sea turtle? What turtle? Here, why don't you take this? Here, go play. Go play, go play. Um, and yeah, sorry.
Oh, you're
Uh,
good. You're good. Don't worry.
and where was I? Oh yeah, so we brought her back, and we were all set to move out to LA. But then a friend of mine offered me a production job at his company, right back almost in Tampa, Florida. Which
Okay.
at that point I did not have any nostalgia for Florida and really didn't want to return there. But like it was a job like doing what I wanted to do, and and also
Mm-hmm.
working for my friend. So I
Right.
thought, let's give this a shot. That kind of went bust after, I don't know, 6 months or something. Like they
Mm-hmm.
lost money and then had to let go of their in-house production guy, which was me. Um, and so then we were like, well, now what do we do? And then that led to me getting a tech position at Legoland, Florida, which was still pretty new. I think it had only been open for a year or two at that point.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, basically, I mean, my like tech skills, I don't know, as far as like a stage tech person goes, are very minimal. I'm more of a computer guy, like an editing and audio guy.
Right.
But they put me in the tower for their ski show that they have there. Basically, I just had to press a few buttons to trigger a few of the actions during the show, and it was super easy. And basically, I got to sit there and watch the role that I wanted, which was the host
Mm.
of the ski show. And basically, after that summer, they didn't hire me on in any other tech capacity. But that was fine because before I left, I got a chance to audition. They let me audition for a Halloween character for
Oh.
their, I think it was
Brick or
called,
tree.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. So I got to be what was called Howling Howie, who was this
So you were the
werewolf.
werewolf.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
and basically, I just went up there and did my, because that was another sort of character that I had auditioned for a few times in Singapore. I don't even know why I would want to do it, but Beetlejuice. They had Beetlejuice out in Singapore. And
okay.
really, like, the idea is to not leave that donkey booth at all. But
Right.
they would have auditions, and I'm going to be like, well, let me just show them what else I could do just to be safe. So,
Just because. Yeah.
so yeah, basically, I took my modified Beetlejuice and applied it to this Howling Howie, and it was great because I finally sort of got because I guess you always want what you don't have, and even as Donkey, as great as it was, people still didn't get to see moi, like Steve and Randall Honeycutt Jr. Like, I don't know
Right.
why I felt the world needed that, but I finally was granted that when I got to be Howling Howie, even though they were, God, they were so cheap. Like, the werewolf makeup was literally just a face paint person. Like, they basically like just applied the face paint, and like the entertainment people were like, oh, if you need a touch up, just let them know. Well, of course, I'm out in the hot Florida sun, like waving my arms around and acting all wacky.
Yep.
After one
Yep.
set, it's like already like starting to go. And I got a touch up, and the makeup person was like, I can't be doing this like every like 30 minutes or something. And I'm
You
just
working
like,
in Florida though. Like,
well, I mean,
it's
it's just I mean, as it's just everyone is spread so thin at Legoland that, they just don't have time for anything. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I felt bad because, like, okay, so after doing these sets, like hosting this costume contest, wait, how did it work? So I would do 2 sets in the park, like 1 or 2, and then I would go and host the costume contest, and then we would go outside and announce the winners. And by the time I got out there, I was just like spent, and all the makeup was like, I mean, the kids would look at me and they're like, oh, I see what's going on here. There's a human man behind that makeup. And I mean, and I would just feel bad for them because, it sort of kills the illusion. But hey, it's Merlin, and they didn't care. So, you got to work with the cards you were dealt. And like, that was my first time performing as myself, I guess, in front of people, and for kids mostly. And it was great. That was a fun time.
I mean, I know we sit here and bash Merlin, but they also do a lot of good for the community just so people realize what they
I hope
do.
so.
They do a lot of make a wish stuff. They donate a lot of money to charities and stuff like that. It's just when you work for them, it's not necessarily the greatest thing in the world.
Right. Well, I mean, I know they've opened up the Legoland Hotel since. Like, I think one of the guys I was working with is still there. But yeah, to fast forward a bit, like, so Halloween came to an end, and another thing I got to do, for some reason they stopped doing it. I got to host one of their brick offs, where they all build stuff. You know what I'm talking about? That was fun. I only got to do it once. But then after that, I guess I re-auditioned to be the host again for the ski show.
Okay.
and I got it. But Legoland's a seasonal park, and I like barely got to do it, and it was like my only gig. And that's when I like started to get the idea. It's like the work out here is like super limited. At the same time, I was still going to Universal,
Yeah.
re-auditioning for Donkey, and like not getting anything, and other roles as well. So finally, we're just like, all right, let's try something new. Let's move all the way out to LA, and we did. And like a month later, I got a call from Universal offering me Donkey again.
Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
I think it might have even been while I was on the road, while we were on the road moving out there after we just hit
Mm.
Vegas, because we hit a bunch of like landmarks on the way out there, and then and I was
Hmm.
like, of course, of course. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, moved out to LA, and I was like, all right, no more theme parks. I'm only gonna do acting work, or I'm done with the theme park world. But of
Right.
course,
Right.
like easier said than done. Um, Basically,
Mhm.
I guess the first time I moved back in that direction was working this haunt when Halloween moved around, called
That's a fun story.
the the haunted hayride. Oh,
Mm.
absolutely worst haunt that I've ever worked at.
I remember your story on the podcast that you went through, and I was laughing at that. I was like, "Wow, this is bad."
Right. And it was funny because myself and another theme park guy that I met doing background work, we were both
Yeah.
working it. He had previously worked at Six Flags. Actually, he's on the podcast, Alex Cowie. Yeah, and we were talking.
Yep.
We're like, oh, this isn't safe. Like they're treating us like crap. And I remember I went in, and it was in the middle of October. They had auditions for Horror Nights, went in and got it, and I was like, oh man, how am I going to tell Alejandro like that I'm not going to be around? Well, he had already auditioned for Horror Nights, had already gotten it as well,
And he
and
was saying the same thing about you. He was like, "How am I gonna tell Steve
yeah,
this?"
basically. So yeah, like just finished out there and turned in my resignation, and then I was a floater for a while at Horror Nights. And it was like light years different. Got treated like a whole bunch better. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and that was my first stint at an actual Horror Nights. Actually, it was Universal Hollywood.
And this was basically your first Halloween, like, go too for that year too, right? Like for that haunted house and Halloween Horror Nights and all that.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that came close was working that Halloween event out in Singapore. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, this was it was that, and it was pretty good. Like getting to work, getting a taste of Horror Nights, and getting only to work like half the month or half the event was good,
Right.
because like you get a good taste and you don't get tired of it. Um,
And once you
and
work Halloween, it becomes addictive.
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah.
But yeah, so from there, so Horror Nights ended, and I think at this point I had already auditioned for the park several times to be a host.
Hmm.
They have the tour guide. That's what it is. Tour guide. They have a raptor encounter that they started up. I auditioned
Yep.
for that. Didn't get it.
Yep.
Even going back to be Shrek, and one time they had a donkey audition. Never got any of that for whatever reason, despite all my experience. A lot
Hmm.
of people say that you know you kind of have to know the right people in order to get in Universal Hollywood. I mean, now in hindsight, I can see the way to get in is to work Horror Nights and kind of schmooze with.
Transfer in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, you still have to audition. You just have to make sure that the head guy like sort of recognizes you. So when you show up for a regular audition, he's like, "I remember that guy. He was Dracula. He did a good
Right.
job." And I finally got that, though a little bit later, but I did get offered. Eventually, I went for what it's basically character attendant out here, though they call
Okay.
it PA, because it's more Hollywoody,
Hmm.
production assistant. So once again, I got to watch people do the job that I wanted to do, also used to do, take care of Shrek and a lot of the face characters and stuff like that. And at that point, it really wasn't fun. I was really getting kind of burnt out. And I don't know, it feels working at Universal Hollywood. I mean, maybe it was an age thing, or maybe it's just a different area. It just felt a lot different than working at Universal Orlando. I guess it felt more of like a job and less of like fun.
That's
And
what I've heard.
and it wasn't really an entertainment role anyway. I was just
Yeah.
basically an usher. I tried to have as much fun as I could. And oh,
Yeah.
this is kind of a fun story, or really lets you, it sort of puts you in your place. So yeah, when I was an escort at Universal Orlando, we, and I think all of us sort of went out of our way to play with the characters and the guests and stuff like that. Well,
Right.
I was escorting a Bumblebee, the Transformer.
Okay.
It's a dude on stilts. You lead him in and lead
Yep.
him out, and and he can't talk. He just makes the weird Bumblebee noises and stuff. Plays the little sound clips, just like from the movie. And people get up to him,
Do they
and
have a sound glove that they like move their hands and stuff? Is that how that
yeah, I
works? Or
think the dudes inside are the ones triggering it. But
right?
so people would get up and they wouldn't know what to do. And I'd be like, I'm like, hey, he's like talking to you. Because they would get up and just leave. And I'd be like, hey, he's talking to you. He's like doing stuff.
It's like moving around and yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And afterwards, like that guy playing Bumblebee complained about me to a manager, and saying, I don't know, that I guess I was horning in on his action or something. So I'm like, okay, I see what I'm wanted here, and that's just to stand there and
It's
just
like you're
do the
helping
bare
him, like,
do
oh,
the bare
yeah.
minimum. Yeah. And so I was like, I see how it is. And anyway, long story already too long. This is when Dubai was starting to come into the picture. A lot of the people who worked at Universal Singapore, like the creative directors and stuff, were
Yeah.
ramping up this park in Dubai. I
Yep.
submitted my information, and got offered another voice actor role, this time as Brainy Smurf. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, because apparently the Smurfs were a big deal in the UAE. um,
Really?
yeah, yeah, like it was like the only show in the '80s that spoke Arabic. At least that's what they
Okay.
told us. There was a lot of
Okay.
lies and brandied about back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, my even though the pay was like super low, which all you hear about is how rich the UAE is, especially Dubai, and
Yeah.
for whatever reason, the pay was just super low. But at the same, we still didn't have our son yet, that you can hear in the background. And so we were just like, well, we're never going to get a chance to go to this region of the world. And we're always sort of adventure seekers. So
Yeah.
we went for it, and it was a huge mistake, absolutely huge mistake. Um, we basically ended up, I mean, to sort of sum up things, we ended up back with probably less money than when we left, just because
Mm.
the amount they were paying wasn't enough to sustain a living in Dubai.
Yeah.
And to try to condense all this stuff, the
Yeah.
people from the creative directors and the management from Singapore, or from Universal Singapore, who are American, you'd think they'd have your back, but no. They were getting paid so much money, they didn't care how the
Yeah.
Dubai people treated you. Or so people were leaving mid-contract left and right. Like we basically couldn't leave because we had ended our lease at our apartment. Our car, which actually ended up we actually got into a car accident before we left. It
Okay.
was totaled. So we really had nothing to go back to except for to live with my mom.
Didn't you have issues also with your wife over there and with them not wanting to get
Yeah,
paperwork or something?
yeah. I mean, basically, we had
See,
problems from the get
I
go.
listen to you, Steve. Just
I mean, I just don't know, what these people have heard or not. But yeah,
Yeah.
like, I mean, they bumbled everything from the get go, starting with my wife's visa. We showed up at LAX, and basically they were like, "Oh, she can't board because she didn't have a visa," and I'm on the phone talking long distance to this lady that I can barely understand. She sends me like the shadiest website to try to pay for a spouse visa, and like there was nothing that we could do. Like basically I had to go ahead because they were like, either get on that next plane or don't come. So I came, or I went ahead and
Yeah.
went. We went
That's
through
horrible.
we went through the shady website and got her a tourist visa. She was on the plane like the next night. Like I basically bawled my eyes out the whole plane ride over to Dubai, like thinking I was crazy for leaving my wife alone in LAX.
I would too. I would be in your position.
And the sad part is that it was such like a comfortable flight. It was like Air Emirates. Like I had the entire 3 seats to myself. And I was like, of course, one of those seats was supposed to have her in it. But
Right.
anyway, yeah, like we get there, and at first they have us in a nice hotel, which is pretty decent. But then they finally built like the company living quarters, and that was like way out of town, like out in the boondocks. And to get anywhere, you had to take like a 45-minute bus ride plus another bus ride,
the train and all that. Yeah. That's,
yeah, yeah.
oh.
So yeah, like I mean, this is definitely when the burning out of working in theme parks. Like I really felt like, it just shows that with enough money, like there's no such thing as like patriotism or any kind
Yeah.
of loyalty or anything. Like nobody cared that I worked with them back in Universal Singapore because they were getting paid so much money. And they were like, well, if you're unhappy, just go. Like no one was trying. I mean, at the same time, like I'm sure those the Arab guys running the joint, they weren't going to listen to anybody. They have so
like from your podcast, there's just horror stories coming out from over there.
it is. I mean, they have more money than God, so they don't have to listen to anyone.
Yeah.
So anyway, we come back to California. Our one friend with a house, his family happens to be out vacationing, so he says we can stay with him. And basically, I just got a car, like even without a regular address. I don't know how. I just bought a new car, started Ubering. We sort of lived out in the suburbs away from LA for a little bit, and near Anaheim.
Okay.
And this is when I worked at my last park, which is Disneyland. Well, no, actually, I do have a stint at Horror Nights coming up. But anyway, yeah, I applied to work at Disneyland just because theme parks is what I know. Like, there was nothing else going on out in Anaheim or the suburbs where I live that I know of. So why not?
Exactly.
Why not? And somehow I got it. I guess maybe the experience got me in, but I didn't even think my audition was that good. So now I'm Sully in the Pixar parade at Disneyland.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean,
some big arms to control, but okay.
Oh man, it was the hottest suit I ever wore. It's like wearing a shag carpet. And and you have a different style of heat out here in California. You got the desert heat, and there's no rain to come around at 2 and 4 in the afternoon to keep you from having to work. So come hell or high water, you're doing a parade. And just like before, I was the fill-in guy. So I hardly ever worked to begin with, which is fine. I mean, basically, to work in the parade, you're basically just there to get free passes to Disney. Like, you're getting paid less than what they make over at Universal. It's really a cult. And yeah, like, so you really have to be into Disney if you want to work there, which I wasn't. I mean, and I was always interested in trying to work for Disney. I auditioned a few times in Florida, but yeah, never got anything. Actually, the only voiceover role they had that I went for a few times was Crush from Finding Nemo. Do you
Right.
remember Turtle Talk with
Turtle
Crush?
Talk.
That's what it is.
Yep.
So
In
I went for
Epcot.
that. Yeah, yeah. So I went for that like maybe one or two times back when I was in Florida. So once again, I was like, well, let me just go ahead and get my foot in at Disney. I can at least find out when they're going to have auditions for Crush. Well, after some investigation and like nobody knew the answer to this question, I had to like I don't know, just ask so many people like Crush was not considered an entertainment role at Disneyland. It's considered
Really?
like underneath rides or
Attractions.
ops. Yeah, yeah, something like
Really?
that. So I'm just like, how the heck am I supposed to even like audition then or even get this role? And if I get it, it probably isn't even going to pay well to begin with. Like,
Right.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
there's a like the, I mean, Disney, of course, since they've been there for so long. I mean, they've got it on lockdown. I mean, you're making the bare
Mhm.
minimum and doing the maximum amount of work. And
And I'm sure the turnaround at Disney is high, and because they know that people want to come in and just work for them, they're like, "Well, we'll find the next one." Sorry, you
well, I
know.
mean, I made a few friends out there, even though like I was already pushing like 36 or 37, working with all these like 20-year-olds. Like I found
Yeah.
one guy who'd been there for a while, and it's weird. Like they're even aware at how ridiculous it is to work there, but they still keep working there. Just, I mean, maybe there's just not that much else to do. It's either that or move into LA and work at
Hmm.
Universal or out near Six Flags. And I don't even know what they're paying. Again, not to
The
speak
Six
ill of Six
Flags doesn't
Flags.
have any entertainment, anyways. There's be more
Well,
Knoxbury at that point, right? I mean, I
right.
don't even
Oh,
know if they really have much.
exactly, exactly. And but while I was at Six Flags, my one time there, I did see I think it was Power Girl and a Wonder Woman face character, and that was it. That's all I saw. It's like,
See, I wonder if they do the same thing as Six Flags Over Georgia does, because Six Flags Over Georgia would hire people for the day to come in from the outside and
mhm.
bring them in that way.
Oh yeah. I don't know. These I can usually smell. That's a horrible. I can usually feel if someone is from like outside or like an like a
Yeah.
cosplayer or something like that.
Yeah.
These felt like park employees to me
Okay.
for whatever reason. I don't know. That was just the vibe I was
Okay.
getting. But whatever. So yeah. So I worked. Um, so yeah, I worked at Disneyland for a bit. Found out that I couldn't even do Crush, and then
Yeah.
eventually, my wife applied to work at the post office. For some reason, she I don't know. I guess made a mistake with a zip code or something, and she got assigned
Okay.
at the post office in Hollywood.
Oh.
So so yeah, we there was a lot of commuting involved there. Basically, on days when I
Yeah.
wasn't working at Disney, I would drop her off and then I would just Uber. And eventually, we were just like, "This is ridiculous. We have to move." And so I found us an apartment and we moved to Hollywood, and where we live now. And at the
That's
same time,
awesome.
I'm still technically employed at Disney. And so after I moved, and it's like an hour drive. I mean, I guess you can get to Disney maybe 40 minutes if there's no traffic, but there's always
Okay.
traffic. So it's like an hour and change to get down there. So when I
Okay.
would get scheduled, I'd be like, oh, and like no one would fill in for me because I was the fill in guy. And I'm just like, why am I even still doing this? And I was like, well, let me hold on to these like tickets so I can at least use them before I quit or whatever.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I'm commuting all the way from Hollywood to Disneyland, which for the low pay is just ridiculous. But along this time, that's when Horror Nights comes along again, and this is when I work my first full and actually only and last stint at Halloween Horror Nights. I was in the Universal Monsters maze, which won
Oh.
best maze
Ooh.
of that year. I think it's 2019.
Right.
Met some great friends that I'm still friends with today.
Which monster
Um,
were you though?
I was Dracula,
That's
um, but
awesome.
uh, but not like a face Dracula. They gave me
Right.
this
Right.
huge mask, and I was like behind this like this mirror to help create this
Mm-hmm.
optical illusion, which was fine because I don't want to get punched in the face. So yeah,
I've
it
been
was
there
a
many times.
yeah, so it was a chill, pretty much a chill gig, and it was great because everybody loved the maze. Like, I mean, and even me, being as jaded as I was, I still had a good time and appreciated the fact that we were the quote unquote number one maze or whatever.
That's great.
And
They do
yeah,
anything special for you guys?
pizza party, of course.
Universal style.
I mean, I think I've come to realize that that's like every company's thoughts. Like, they won't give you any money, but God darn it, they'll give you a pizza party or like a Starbucks gift card. And it's weird. It's like, it's hush money basically, or not
Or
even
one of
money.
these. Just a
Hey,
lanyard.
yeah, I don't remember getting anything like that, but yeah. And this is when I realized I was like, this is my like foot into working at in the park like full
Mm-hmm.
time as a Shrek, because like, so Horror Nights ended, they had auditions like, I don't know, maybe a few weeks later. Like, I couldn't go because my other job that I started, like, I thought I would get out in time to make it, and I didn't. All the other tall guys in my maze that went out, they got it. They got Shrek.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, so that's it. That's the foot into entertain. I mean, unless I guess you really look the part, like Betty Boop or whoever.
Right.
Like, you go, you do a good job in Horror Nights, make sure they notice you, which
Mm-hmm.
they did that year. Like, I got thanked by the casting director, even though, I mean, I don't feel a need to be thanked, but I'm like, sure, whatever. I'm just
It's
here
always
to,
nice, though.
yeah, sure. And then I was all set to work Horror Nights the next year, and then the boy was born, and we thought we were maybe going to be able to work it out with my wife's schedule to where I would get to do both. Nah, this wasn't possible. So, and that leads us to pretty much, and the way, and I was still employed at Disney for a really long time. That's how I was able to go to Disney World with my brother and his family when we visited that time. And then just one day I received an email that said, I don't know, I don't think they used the word terminated, but they were like, oh, you're booted out of our system. I had like a few tickets
it's like we're
left.
releasing you or something.
Yeah, something like that. And didn't feel bad about it in the slightest. I did sort of get to, back when they were opening up Galaxy's Edge, I attended an employee, a pseudo employee preview.
Okay.
I didn't get to see any of the stuff in the park. Basically, they herded us into this again, like a little theater, so the actors could come out and do their stuff, and then we got to taste their multicolored popcorn or whatever. It was pretty lame overall. I was like, man, where's the Millennium Falcon? Like, come on. But yeah, I mean, I guess since you listen, you probably heard that little preview thing that I did about it where I talked about it. But yeah, and that is basically currently the end of my days being employed by a theme park. And the only thing I have left that's sort of tethering me to it is the Theme Park Legends podcast, which I thank you very much for listening. And I mean, when it first started, I almost had like interviews like weekly, but I've worked my way through all my friends. Like I've met some new people while doing it. But basically what I'm trying to say is that it's hard to find interviews. So if anyone listening would like to come on, and it doesn't have to just be theme park work, you could have worked on a cruise ship. It's another thing I always wanted to do, but I never got to.
So that's the next thing then, huh? Cruise ship.
No way, man. No way.
Disney Cruise Line right there, Steve. Come on.
Actually, I actually dragged my wife to an audition for one of those ones, and it just never happened. Like, so unless it's like to be a creative director or something, or like working for a theme park in that, in a lower sort of position is probably never going to happen again. Like, unless they're just like, hey, we heard you do Donkey. We'll give you Donkey. I'll do voiceover, no problem. But I'm never going to go in a suit again. I'll tell you that.
So you want more behind the scenes, backstage, kind of in that aspect.
Yeah, like basically, uh, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm trying to transition to these days. I'm trying to, I guess, market myself as a writer. I have another fiction podcast called Ray Can't Sleep. It's 10 episodes that I wrote and produced myself.
And it's amazing. It's really good.
You listen to it?
Oh, I do.
Oh, thanks,
I
man.
love the episodes. Like they're really addicting.
Thanks. Yeah, if you're looking for something spooky or if you're into the paranormal, that would be one to check out, especially around
And that's
Hollywood.
why I listened to it, because like once I heard it, what it is, I was like paranormal, and it gets spooky at times. It's really good.
Thanks, man. And yeah, and after I got through that, I felt confident enough that I took one of my screenplays and I'm turning it into a comic book. It's called Escape to Earth, and it is the Kickstarter will be launching May 1st. I could probably actually throw the link into the chat here.
If you want, you can also share it too.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, that share button, it actually will pull up whatever you have. Like it'll do like a screenshot or something.
Oh, you want to do that?
If you want to, feel free, man. Sorry, my earpiece died. I don't know if you guys have an echo or anything, but
it's a little different, but it's working out.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I can't wait for your comic to come out too. The previews for it, it's wow.
Thanks, man. All right, let me see if I can find the trailer. This is so awkward. Let's see. Blade. Hey, are you still there? Can't hear you.
I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
there you are.
I'm just muting the mic this way it doesn't have a feedback.
Can you riff or something real quick? I need to check on Blade.
Yeah,
okay?
you're good. You're
All
good.
right,
You're
I'll
good.
be right
You're
back.
good.
Blade.
Guys, I appreciate you all being here tonight with us. I hope you guys are all having an amazing time with this stream. It's been really cool to hear what Steve's been through with the theme park industry. So,
I don't want to put you on the spot here, but
yeah, go on. Put me on the spot.
You think you guys will ever have a kid?
Being that I'm 38 and she is in her 40s and in shutdown mode, no.
Hey, you can still make it happen.
And we definitely like our lifestyle the way it is too. So,
alrighty.
You can't be the two real geeks with three geeks, you know.
You can make it happen. but I get what you're saying. Okay, let's see here. Let me go.
And besides, I have way too many toys.
I hear ya. All right, let's see content. And here we are. Okay, where's the? Need to share screen.
Yep.
All right, share screen. Okay, bring it up here real quick. If you want to riff some more, go for it.
Yeah. Theme park lifestyle, I appreciate it. It could be the three real geeks. Yeah. That's why we have Leia, our dog.
Oh, cute. Okay.
Theme Park Lifestyle, that says a great podcast. That's a great podcast. So, I know he said he was going to listen to it last week after I was pumping the podcast out after you dropped it. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Chrome tab. All right. I'm going to share it with you.
Yep.
Weird.
It's a screen. There you go.
Name's Adam. Where I'm from, I'm known as the Zero Thief. Depending on who you ask, some might say I'm the best thief. But believe it or not, even the best screws up every once in a while. And that's what I did, and I had to make a fast getaway. I ended up crash landing on this bizarre planet. Turns out, I didn't get away fast enough. These winged freaks followed me here.
It's just us here, Zero Thief, on this empty backwoods planet. So start talking, either to me or my blade.
Okay, Okay, I do have something to tell you. It's about the planet. It's not that empty. Come on, man. I thought you were gonna duck. Cut me loose. Cut me loose. Behind you. Whoa! Thought I was done for. It was gonna be a light snack for a snarling creature. But then she showed up, riding on the back of one of those monsters like it was nothing. And with a wave of her hand, the other razor-toothed beast just stomped away. I'd never seen anyone like her before in my life. I thought I'd say something clever. Thanks. Have you seen my ship? She gave me a look that said more than words ever could, because I think she was trying to read my mind or something. And from there, things just got even weirder. Escape to Earth. 30 pages of insane dinosaur action that will leave you hungry for more. Issue 1, crowdfunding now. Written and created by Steve Honeycut. Art by Antonio Brandao. Colors by Bruno Furlani. Jump on now before the whole human race is extinct. Download the digital preview today.
Yeah. That's just amazing, Steve. Where does this come from?
What do you mean?
Like,
what?
in your head, like, that's just amazing, like, concept for a story. Like,
Thanks, man. It's I don't know. I've been working on that. Well, it was a screenplay for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's basically about meeting someone from another world and then having to deal with all the problems that comes with that.
like, it gives me a vibe of, like, Escape from, like, LA or New York meets, like, Planet of the Apes.
Good, yeah. I mean, I love John Carpenter, so
Yeah.
and that's, you know, and calling it Escape to Earth is definitely a nod to those films. But yeah, man. Thanks for the kind words.
Amazing. Like, I when I saw that the first time, my, like, jaw hit the ground. I was like, I need more of this. Like, I need more now.
Well, May 1st is when the crowdfunder goes live. So hopefully it'll get funded and we can get a printed version in your hands or a digital version in your email, whatever you want.
That would be great. That would be great. But if anybody doesn't have anything else for Steve, I mean, we definitely nailed everything. This was an awesome stream tonight. I appreciate you coming on with us tonight here.
Thank you. It's,
You're blowing them all away in chat with that comic also right now.
I see. Yeah, I appreciate that.
You got something good there, man. It's gonna go far.
I hope you're right. Fingers crossed. What I'm really hoping is that it leads to paid creative work, but we'll see.
Hey, you know what? Bring it to cons.
Oh, I plan to for sure.
That's the way to do it.
I mean, I went to LA Comic-Con and handed out like mini versions of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, but yeah, I'll be paying for a table in the future for sure.
I mean, you know, Orlando has all these comic conventions.
Oh, I
the
miss
time.
MegaCon. It's so good. But cool, man. Well, we should definitely keep in touch.
Yes, definitely. I think this is a good spot to end this. So, guys, we appreciate you coming here tonight. Yeah. Anything else you want to add tonight, Steve?
Thanks so much, Danny, and thanks for reaching out on Instagram. Like, I mean, if it wasn't for you, then there wouldn't be a new episode of Theme Park Legends. So Thank you so much.
So, any of you guys out there listening to this on replay or whatever, and you are a theme park legend yourself, get a hold of Steve. He wants to hear from you. He'll love to hear from you.
Dying to hear from you. Dying.
He's not going to reject you. He's going to take you on right away and say, yes, let's go. Let's do this now. So,
Yeah, luckily everything's heavily edited, so even if you're a nervous wreck, I can make you sound good.
He made me sound good. I mean, come on.
You were fine. All right, man. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, guys, we are out of here.